Hello and welcome, friends, family, and everything in between, to another episode of I Am Burning So You Can Be Healthier. Today we have a nice little deep squat mobility routine. I would dare say the ultimate deep squat mobility routine. We'll go through it together. Maybe it'll take 10 to 15 minutes. Who knows? We'll see how I feel, and maybe we'll do it even longer. But for now, we're just gonna sit down in a very relaxed position. That might be the Turkish seat for you. You might be in a lotus seat. It doesn't really matter. For now, we just wanna sit down very comfortably, like so. Keep your upper body extended, and let's just loosen up a little bit all the muscles that connect to our lower bodies, or our spinal erectors, and our core, just so we can get into the positions we need to get into in a couple of minutes. Starting out with very easy lumbar rotations from one side to the other. If you can't pull your legs in, there is no problem in staying extended, but for me it's a little bit more comfortable to sit like that, especially because I can use my arms to push against my knees like so into a more deeper rotation. So left side and right side. One more time for the left side, one more time for the right side, and we're going to start adding just the tiniest bit of thoracic mobility as well by moving a little bit lower with our head. So just one here, and one more time for both sides, to the left, to the right, and then hang forward. Stay very relaxed. We don't actually have to pull towards the ground. We just want to stay fully relaxed for now. And I am a little bit impeded with my mobility because of my knee. I still am struggling with the meniscus tear problem, but it is getting better. So for today, I don't think we will have any problems getting into full range of motion for all of the exercises we're doing. But before we get into the deep squat itself, we need to focus on our ankle mobility just as well. Just for a minute before we start, we want to lengthen our gastroc, we want to lengthen our soleus, we want to lengthen our Achilles tendon, and the more extended you stay and the higher you pull, we can even lengthen our biceps femoris and the insertions in our glutes by moving forward. There you go. One side, pull in. The other side, extend and pull up as far as you can. It doesn't really matter how high it is. You can actually just grab here and pull in your toes actively, or if you do have the mobility, just grab your foot like so. Put it down. One more time for the other side. You can pull it in. Pull it in, extend it, pull up. 3, 2, 1, and repeat a final time on this side. Extend, pull up, and the more you keep your upper body extended, the more you're gonna have pull in your biceps as well. All right, final exercise for our ankles. I want you to sit down sideways. Just with one side, we're gonna roll it over and bring it back down here. Once we roll over, we have a nice stretch here, especially in our tibialis and the insertions. We have a nice little stretch in the front side of our foot. Now when we move down here, we'll bring our knee forward to stretch out the antagonist. So rolling forward and reversing the move slowly. How much pressure you put on this totally depends on you and if you're having pain or not, but try and be careful. One final time, roll over. All right, and let's do the same thing for the other side. There you go. We want to roll over the toes. Put it down. Now we can roll backwards and forward. Back and forward, and of course we have 3 more repetitions to go, rolling over our toes, pushing our heel down, lengthening our Achilles tendon, and then rolling and lengthening the antagonists on the other side from the musculature. There you go, and I'd say one more just for good measure. Now we should be at the very least a little bit more limber in our feet and a little bit more limber in our lower back, because now we're going to get into our starting position, which will be the deep squat. So if you cannot get into a deep squat, here is an amazing tutorial, if I dare say so myself, because I'm the one who made it. You can check it out and get into it. But if you can, this is our starting position. If you are lacking the mobility to sit down comfortably and you are up here, you have an added bonus of more strength building in your quads, in your biceps, in your hip flexors and everything. However, if you can sit down comfortably, I would suggest that, because you're not gonna be able to do the whole training if you have to stay up here for the entire time. So if you do, however, just the last thing, if you do, however, need to compensate for lack of strength in your core or your heels raising when you go lower, you might as well just put your hands to the ground. So let's start out. For more core engagement, we bring our hands behind our head, which means that I need to move the mic forward. All right, hands behind, and let's move outwards to the left side and to the right side. Now, we're not only working on our mobility, we're going to be building insane amounts of strength in our hip flexors and in our quads. The stretching, the mobility, the flexibility is all a bonus combination to the strength we are building. You can use this as a warm-up routine for your squat days. You can use this as its own routine to build strength endurance, or you can just use it for your flexibility work. That's totally up to you. So we're moving outwards in an external rotation in our hip joint to one side, reverse, and to the other side. We're going to do one more repetition where we push our hips forward for a maximum range of motion on this side, and then reverse, maximum range of motion on the other side, and reverse. Now we move with an internal rotation instead of the external one we had before. So down to the middle, down to the middle. If you want to, you can rotate your upper body with it. That's requiring more back strength and is gonna loosen up your spine, at the very least a little bit, the lower spine. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of thoracic mobility from turning this way like so, but a little bit is all we need. So final move to the middle, and now we can combine the last two exercises. We're gonna do the whole thing together without a break. So down to the outside, to the middle, to the outside, to the middle. So now we have external hip rotation, we have internal hip rotation, and of course we're doing it on both sides. First external, then internal. Now we're going to increase the range of motion of the entire movement by combining both internal and external rotation in both legs, meaning sitting up, rolling over our toes, and rolling down internally, externally rotate, and reverse. There you go. To the left side, and now we're going to add some spinal rotation as well. To the right side. And increasing our range of motion by bringing our head all the way down one side, down, and on the other side as well, and down. We've got two more complete rotations before we move on to the next exercise. You can work slower than I do, you can work faster than I do, you can pause the video at any moment and just work your way into the exercise itself. But I think we did the last rotation, so let's let go here and sit you down for a while, because this is going to get really exhausting for your quads if we don't take short breaks in between. Now with breaks, I don't mean just sit back and relax. We're going to use this break to work a little bit harder. So number one, left side, we want to move sideways, pull the leg in and sit down on our foot before we extend it again, and reverse the whole thing to the other side. You're going to require a lot of core strength. If you do not have that, you might as well use your arms to compensate by sitting yourself up like so. If you do have the strength, I suggest you better use it. Pull in and sit down. Again, I have to be very careful with this knee because, yeah, it's still a little bit painful, but it's getting better and my range of motion is increasing every single day, which is exactly what we're doing for you as well. So I'm doing all of those exercises for rehabilitation as well as for warm-ups and whatnot. So final repetition for the other leg, so we stay symmetrical, and up, sit down and extend, because it's time for complete rotations. This is one of my favorite exercises, even though I don't demonstrate it too much, because you can get hurt. So Be very careful with what you do. We're basically pulling both legs sideways, rotating them to the other side, sitting down slowly and extending, and with every single exercise. You have to be careful to work symmetrically, meaning the same amount of repetitions on both sides, or else you're going to end up like Quasimodo, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do. We've got 2 more complete rotations. To the left, fully extend, to the right, up, and fully extend. All right. Pull both legs in, bring your feet together, and just now we can relax our hip flexors just a little bit with this butterfly stretch. Very relaxed, very easy. There is no need to push downward as hard as you can. Actively just stay in the dynamic movement range, because this is what we enjoy the most. If you do want to stay in the static movement, then you can just hold it down like so, and then switch from one side to the other. It's totally up to you. We're going to do this dynamically for a handful of seconds more. 3, 2, 1, and now we get into the really hard exercises, because it's time to incorporate some Cossack squats in multiple levels. Now I would say this is one of the last exercises we're going to be doing, because after that one you're going to feel your legs a lot. All right, we're going to start out in an open position. Point your feet outwards just so we don't hurt our knees. If you want to stay parallel like so, you're going to have more mobility or more of a stretch in your adductors. If you turn your foot upward when moving down, this is going to move the stretch from your adductors to your hamstrings. So you can play with both of these depending on what you want to stretch. We are for now going to stay like so, not yet move down all the way. If you do have the strength to stay upright, then I suggest once again you use it. There you go. Start with a small range of motion. Let your heel raise from the ground, and over time we're going to get lower and lower and lower. And with the next repetition, it's time to go full contact, meaning our knee and our leg in full contact with the ground for a full stretch, because now we can add once again some lumbar rotation. And we do this specifically because our back mobility is very tightly interlaced with our hip mobility, and our hip mobility is very tightly interlaced with everything we do squat related. So we want to take care of that, because most people I see do stretch their legs and then totally forget about their legs being connected to their upper body, and upper body mobility is just as important when it comes to not only warming up for a deep squat, but getting the mobility required for a deep squat. So, one more time to both sides. Left side turn, up. Right side turn, and we're going to increase the level of this exercise once more. Bring your left hand behind your left leg towards the ground, and we're going to push our hips upward. Now we have even more of a pull in our quadriceps, moving all the way up to our hip flexors. And if you are really tight here, you may also feel it in your lower abdominals. Switch it up, other side, hand to the ground, push forward, stretch it out. We're going to repeat this 3 more times for every side. Rep number 1, push forward, and you might have noticed that you need to actively flex your glutes and your lower back to bring your hip forward this much, which is good, because the combination of flexion and stretching is the best way of making faster strides when it comes to mobility. So this is rep number 2 for both sides, and final rep for this side, and one final rep for the other side. There you go. Push forward and reverse. All right, we're gonna close it down. We're gonna sit down all the way like so. You can grab your legs and just let it hang loose for 3, 2, and 1. Now we have one more stretch instead of a mobility exercise, because we're going to hold it statically. This is going to be our hamstring stretch, because we have put a lot of pressure on our hip flexors. We have stretched them and strengthened them, but mostly we have not worked on our posterior chain, and the combination of posterior and anterior chain is once again very important. Pull down, let your head hang loose. You may use reciprocal inhibition to bring yourself a little bit closer to the ground. If you have something to hold on to and pull yourself down, that is also okay. The most important thing though is you need to relax fully. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Get in deeper for 3, 2, 1, and done. Well, I hope this was somewhat helpful for you. It is insanely hot and I'm sweating like nobody's business, but it's all for you. With that said, this is all the time I have left for you today. If you enjoyed the video, like the video and subscribe and watch even more videos, because this is how the algorithm works. And I'll see y'all tomorrow, because we have new videos every single day on this channel. Captain Cairo, peace out.